buddies, it's your girl AyChristene, and today we're checking out Odd1sOut. This is every form of animation. Links down below to become a patron to get the uncut reaction to all the shows and anime and movies that we check out, like J. Rick Spencer, Jep, Angel the Fluffy Dragon, Totally Brody, Amari Thomas, Amaya Harris, Reese Sawyer, Nick, Wesley_AA, Isaiah Baylor. Thank you for being an awesome sailor by supporting me. And my friend Taylor, I do know someone named Taylor. Yes, it works. I don't mean Taylor Swift. Okay. And not that there would be anything wrong if I meant her, All right. Let's, enough trying to please the masses. Let's dive into the video.
Alive.
What? What?
Not convinced?
No.
Well, what if I did this?
I'm gonna do a backflip. It looks so cool, Brickathy.
What are you boys doing?
Oh, gosh. Goodness. Oh! And y'all just killed your grandma. Y'all just killed your grandma. What's hilarious is that he set this whole thing up and recorded this.
Are you
Not
convinced now?
not
Does
that
the brick feel
Seinfeld.
more alive? I mean, sure, it's still
no.
a brick that can't move on its own, but maybe because I put googly eyes on it and gave it a family, you can connect with this brick, and it made you feel emotions. Convincing you that something
Not that
inanimate
specific
is
one, but
animate is the main goal of the animator.
Animator, okay.
Deranged frauds.
Wow.
For the last
Wow.
century, animators
Hilarious.
have innovated new techniques and styles to this medium,
Oh.
taking it from a spinning wheel that doesn't use electricity to
Which is pretty cool.
Spider-Verse.
Yes,
Today,
Spider-Verse
I'm
is
gonna talk about all the
fire.
processes and innovations that have brought the medium of animation to right now.
Okay.
First, let's
Spider-Verse?
go all the way back to the beginning of film.
Fantastic. Just like
It was
South
all
of
black and
Midnight
white.
animation.
People had to put in
Amazing.
text whenever they talked. Early on, filmmakers discovered a very simple trick to make anything appear alive in front of a camera.
With stop motion.
It was called. You're filming something.
Why
and you
did-
stop the camera?
why
and
did he
move the thing slightly?
get
capture
quiet?
A new image, move the thing again, and continue to do that a tedious amount of times on the film.
Yes.
That thing now magically looked like it moved.
Like
on
it
its own.
danced,
And
yeah.
With this technique, you could make literally anything appear to be moving.
Yeah.
Anything. But some
Which is
filmmakers
crazy.
took this art form to an extreme level
Wow.
and created whole characters out
Oh,
of
that's
clay
that
and
one-
a posable metal wire system called an armature.
And that's
Now,
claymation.
animators can sculpt unique
Yes.
characters that bend and pose in much more believable ways. With stop motion, you don't need to
Night Before
hire a
Christmas.
real dinosaur or giant monkey to make a movie about a dinosaur.
Is it Night Before
or
Christmas or
giant
Nightmare
monkey.
Before
I'm
Christmas?
sorry you didn't
Let me
get
know
that
which one
time.
it is. Oh. Oh.
I just had a crazy idea.
What?
What if we made our entire puppet's head interchangeable? Now they can make
Yeah,
any facial
yeah.
expression and mouth shape possible. We will have
That's
to
what they
sculpt out
do
hundreds of different heads
to make
though,
that
but,
easier.
Come on, that'll be fun. That's why we're extreme, baby.
Wow,
Stop
wow.
motion movies are still being made and enjoyed to this day. And while
Yes.
new technology does help make the overall process easier,
Which is
animators
good.
are still using the same techniques that were used on King Kong back in the 1920s, where they
Look at
carefully
that.
pose out a character's every movement frame by frame.
Which is
in
wild.
order. Stop motion is
Which
a
is
medium
wild.
that I can't even begin to understand how they do, let alone make it look good, Having a stop motion character in
I think
gravity-defying poses, making
the
hundreds of different
idea of
faces,
it
is done
is
solely to make
understandable,
the character feel more
but
alive.
could
And
I actually
sometimes to help
execute it is
sell
the
the
question.
realism, animators will mimic quirks that only happen in live-action films. I always chuckle when I see a lens flare in an animated movie, because,
Okay.
where did you come from? There's not even a camera lens.
Hilarious.
Unlike me, though,
I
who's
love
always got a camera roll.
lens
There you
flares.
go. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Did you catch that? Did
Yeah.
you see the
Motion blur? Yes,
lizard
I
eat a
did.
bug?
Why is he?
Ooh,
Oh, okay. Okay,
now
gross.
let's rewind
Gross.
the clip and pause right here.
Okay.
This lizard moves
Yeah,
so
motion blur.
fast that the camera can't even capture its
That's that
movements
thing I have to
correctly,
turn off in
and
video
it
games so I don't get motion
transmogrifies to an
sickness.
amorphic blob that barely even resembles a lizard. But
Mm.
do not fret, dear viewer. This is called
Right, you're
motion
mortified.
blur, and it's absolutely natural.
Oh, I thought they were mortified by the lizard eating the bug, but okay.
This blurry blob only showing up for one frame actually helps sell the idea that this little guy is moving quickly.
Right.
If you watch any movie frame by frame, you'll find motion blur everywhere. You won't even notice. So how do
that it shouldn't hurt for them with the ladder?
Hundreds of still photos
Ladders are
handle
painful.
this naturally occurring phenomenon
Wow.
with things in motion?
Wow.
Easy.
That'd be
They'll
so
draw
rude.
smear-
Why
Animators
does he
draw
keep
their own
blinking
blurry
that
blob
out?
frame to mimic fast movements. Bodies can
I wonder
stretch,
if the
arms
sound
can
was getting
multiply.
copywritten.
Basically, we can sneak
The Star
in
Wars.
nightmares as long as it's only shown for one frame. Smears, while being very fun to draw, can look
Okay.
very weird and goofy on
They,
their own.
yes, they
But
can.
in the
They
context
can.
of the whole shot, you barely even notice they're there. Okay,
That's
maybe
true.
Now you'll notice them, but
Right,
that's
'cause you're
only
paying
because I
attention more,
pointed them
but-
out. And since animators are bad boys and
All
don't
right.
play by the rules,
Bad
they
boy.
can make smears out of anything, even in stop motion. We can sculpt a physical smear frame like how
Right.
they did in Leica's Paranorman, which if you
Okay.
haven't seen, is going to be your new favorite movie. Smear
Okay,
frames
okay.
can be used anytime, anywhere. Unless you were an animator in the 1920s and 30s and didn't know about them back then. In that case, you would have been
Whoa,
animating something
don't
called-
shoot. Rubber hose.
In the 1920s and 30s,
Yeah, because you're part of the
animators were still
sound.
figuring out some
So I think
core
the audio
principles of
probably got
animation.
copyright, so he just
Turns
cut it
there's
out.
12 of them. Smear frames were used sparingly during this time, with animators usually only drawing characters with multiple limbs to show fast movements.
Ah,
The
okay,
stretchy,
okay.
wacky, and spiritually ascending smears
I
that
would
we all
always
know
be
and
like
love
when things
weren't
would be
really used
flexible.
Until the 1940s. Rubber hose characters have noodly, almost hose-like limbs that bend in all sorts of anatomically defying ways.
Why
Look at
hose?
Mickey Mouse's noodle arms that I can now legally show you. The reason characters
Hilarious.
look like this is because drawing noodle arms and not worrying about anatomy is
Right.
easier to draw. But like, just because something has noodle arms doesn't mean it's bad, you guys. What these animators
Did someone
were
say that?
able
Oh,
to
he's talking about
accomplish with
himself.
The technology, if
Okay.
you could even call it that, is nothing short of dark magic.
Wow.
And the very same studio that made Steamboat Willie wanted to push the envelope and show the world that animation could be more. It doesn't just have to be noodly characters with Pac-Man eyes. They were
Yeah,
gonna
them crazy
animate a
eyes.
realistic woman with proportional arms
Oh,
that don't
yes.
move in weird, exaggerated
Disney.
ways. And, oh
I
God,
mean-
her noodle arms are moving in weird, exaggerated ways.
Oh, wow,
In
hilarious. I've never seen that.
1934, Disney released a short called The Goddess of Spring.
Oh, I've never
being
seen
their
this.
first attempt at
But I
animating a
love the
character with what was
I
supposed
love
to
the
have
animation.
real human anatomy.
I
They
love
still
the
had a lot to
animation.
learn, obviously. Now, animating a quote-unquote
I love the
anatomically correct
nostalgia.
human is actually a much harder task than you might realize.
No, I
And that's
100%
because
think
of the
that's
uncanny
crazy hard. Oh.
get more and more
Sal.
human characteristics, we hit an interesting point right here when something looks almost like a human,
But-
it's just a little off.
Yeah,
Our
it's
pattern
quite
recognition
weird.
brain starts setting off alarm bells and go,
Mm.
something is definitely wrong with that
Yeah.
almost human. I am entering fight or flight right now.
Oh, right,
So if
right,
you're trying
right.
to make
It
something
causes
look
like
as
that
close to a human as
unsettlingness.
possible, but are just a tiny bit off,
Mhm.
everything crumbles. The Goddess of Spring was still good practice for Disney because only
I
3
love
years
the
later,
animation.
they
I gotta
released the
see
world's
it.
First fully animated feature film,
Oh.
Snow White. Can you
Snow
really blame
White.
Disney for going 6 times over budget to make this
I
movie?
gotta see the live
mean,
action
just
Snow
look at
White.
How these human characters are moving. 10 years before Snow White, animated humans looked like this. So going from this
Yeah. I feel like it looks good.
in only 10 years?
Is that
Wow.
wow? How was he about to milk that cow? You saw that?
Human characters look sometimes.
Look at them buns.
Almost too real.
What?
Well, I think you're old enough to learn about the dangers of
Rotoscoping?
Rotoscoping
Okay.
is the process of taking real-life footage and then manually tracing over every frame, resulting in an animation with
Okay.
unreal levels of realism.
I like
say
that.
Unreal derogatorily. You're
Okay.
basically slapping a cartoon filter over
Uh-huh.
live action footage, but instead of
Is that a
simply
mud skipper?
slapping, you're spending multiple hours doing mindless and tedious drawing. Rotoscoping
Frames,
is
wow.
not the same as filming a human actor and then later referencing that footage, like what Disney
Okay.
did for Sleeping Beauty or Alice in Wonderland or
Oh.
any movie ever, because animators use references all the time.
Oh,
People had
you
figured
saw
out
that-
how to
the,
Rotoscope other people
Trolls?
long before Snow White. So of course Disney, who was trying to convey real human movement,
Mm.
rotoscoped some shots. The
Okay.
problem with rotoscoping is that we start to sneak our way back to the bottom of the uncanny valley. Animated
Okay.
characters often do and should
You see
break
the
the
SpongeBob
laws
back
of
there?
physics. They can squash and stretch into weird proportions and be
Mhm.
drawn in unique and interesting poses.
Look
And
at him in his
Snow
face.
White is
I want to
still
be
a
flexible like that.
masterpiece of a movie. The rotoscoping is fine. You barely notice it. It's good.
Okay.
It's a good movie, and it made Disney a lot of money. Also,
Okay.
how did Walt animate these shots of things reflecting
Oh, in the water.
in 1937?
Yeah,
What,
that's
they put special glass over paintings to make it
I
look
do wonder.
distorted or something?
I do wonder.
Who would be crazy enough to do that?
He
If
would.
you made a whole movie entirely rotoscoped, what you
Mm.
end up with is Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings. Notice
Wait.
anything off about these characters' movements?
Yeah,
Look at how
what's
Gandalf moved just a year ago in The Hobbit.
okay?
Now, Lord of the Rings,
Wow,
Hobbit.
he look like he's dancing.
Lord of the Rings. Almost every shot in this movie
Uh-huh.
was rotoscoped, and the shots
Okay.
that weren't used live-action footage with a filter over.
What is
I'm not
this?
saying that
What was that?
rotoscoping is bad. You just have to use it correctly.
Mm.
Character switching
I
from
like
traditionally animated
watching
to rotoscoped is incredibly
rotoscoped
fun and always will
animation.
be. The YouTuber Joel Javier makes very
We've
entertaining
seen
rotoscoped
this.
skits
We've seen
that feel
his.
like a fever dream, and I mean
Right.
that underogatorily.
Right.
And a lot of
We've
music
seen his
videos
do that,
get away
yeah.
with rotoscoping because
Music
admittedly,
videos, yeah.
Rotoscoping is a very cool visual.
It is a
Now,
great visual.
I wish I could say the first Lord of the Rings movie was a hidden animation gem.
Okay.
But
Oh, so this
I don't
that
know, it
actually
wasn't-
is a real movie that
It's not in
exists?
my top 10. I'm sorry. It probably
That
made
actually
a lot of nerds
exists?
in the 70s happy, but thankfully, The Lord of the Rings has been adapted into many other forms of media.
Mm.
Video games, Magic the Gathering cards, and anime. Anime?
There's a Lord of the Rings anime?
They're making a Lord of the Rings.
I'm mad I said it at the same time.
You thought Hollywood, California was the only place in the world?
No,
making
I think
moving
anime
pictures? Japan's been making
is-
their own moving pictures
yeah.
too, and some of them are moving drawings.
Yeah,
There are
their
entire
anime
college
is-
courses on the
uh-huh.
history of anime.
I got-
but you're
I-
not
I would
paying
love
the
to take
tuition,
one.
So we're gonna have to skip over a couple.
Hilarious.
A lot
Oh,
of
I saw All
early
Might.
anime is now lost media because cinemas didn't preserve film back then.
Oh,
and an
no.
earthquake destroyed many studios in 1923.
No,
Some
no.
Japanese animators created shorts out of paper cutouts because buying thousands of celluloid sheets was
Uh-huh.
too expensive, and they had some very unique
But
character designs. And
they're
some Japanese animators took inspiration from
normal,
Disney
like,
and made
they're
shorts that looked very similar to
basic,
America's rubber hose
uh,
characters. Then by the
Okay, so their basic level, and that's the thing that's wild, and I wonder if he'll explore that, is how we both started at a certain point, right? But I think if you were to pick out of random like 100 anime and 100 American cartoons, the style of anime is at a different tier than a lot of American cartoons. And I wonder why that is. I wonder why. Well, you know what? I know why that is. That one takes a lot more time and money. The Americans do not want to pay that type of time and money. So that's where we get
some
CG and
major world
stuff like that.
events happened that
Yep,
got
yep.
most of
World
the
War.
involved,
Mhm.
and both American and Japanese animation studios were
Ah,
affected.
right,
After all
right.
that, in
Hiroshima.
1948, one studio called Japan Animated Films,
Mm.
later bought out by
Toei.
Animation, set out to
Is
be
it Toei
the
or
Disney
Toei?
of the East. And they
Yes.
made cartoons about
And they have the
magical
cat.
schoolgirls, and are still in business to this day, and made some other less popular shows.
Oh.
One animator who quit working at
Less
Toei
popular?
created his own company and made an anime based off his comic about a robot boy.
Okay.
Kind of like that art style of drawing humans with big expressive eyes. Let's do more of that.
Yeah.
That same year, another studio made an anime about humans controlling giant robots.
Okay.
And that's going to inspire a whole new genre.
I
And
wonder.
This guy was commissioned by American studios to
Mhm.
make stop-motion Christmas movies like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh,
Meaning
okay.
Rudolph is anime.
That is
Nani? By the
Nani?
1950s, Japanese
Hilarious.
shows started airing on televisions all across the globe. And they
Mhm.
continued to make unique
Yes,
and interesting
yes.
stories with amazing
You see that
animation
Demon
that
Slayer?
were beloved
The
by
frames?
billions of people.
Yes,
and grew to
100%.
Extremely profitable franchise.
Yes. Wait, does Hello
I'm
Kitty have
talking
an
the
anime?
most profitable franchise. By
Mm,
the
mhm.
1970s, Disney was still very much the animated movie gold standard, making
Okay.
big budgeted movies.
Look
with
at this
family-friendly
balance.
values,
I gotta
which
watch
is
these like
fine to
old
do. Kids love
animations.
bright colors and talking animals that only
Mhm.
cartoons can offer. But some studios
Uh.
realized that animation was a medium, not a
Mhm.
genre, and made
Right.
animated movies exclusively
Right.
for adults.
Hold on,
That's
say
part of
that
the reason why
again.
the first Lord of the Rings movie was
Okay,
entirely
but,
rotoscoped. It
uh,
wasn't trying to be cartoony and over the top. It
Uh-huh.
was trying to be real and gritty. Animation.
That's the
could be
thing. Animation
anything
is not a
for
genre.
anyone of
It is a
any age.
medium.
But really, if you think about it, there hadn't been a new way of showing people moving drawings since those very early days of black and white stop motion. In
What do you
stop
mean?
motion, you take a picture, move a figure,
Okay.
take a picture, move a figure. In cell animation, you take a picture, move a cell,
Okay.
take a picture, move a cell. Everything's just been a series of pictures moved manually in front of a camera this
like
whole
movies.
time?
Yeah.
Always has been.
Oh, wow.
You've got mail.
What's the letter say?
Oh. It says the entire animation and film industry is about to be flipped onto its head forever and ever.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
CG
right.
animation?
I'm sure this whole computer thing is
Yeah. See? Computers and animation.
Increasing advancements of technology, we were able to achieve increasingly advanced
My daughter had learned about
achievements, like putting a guy on the
achievements,
moon
Xbox.
and drawing silly little cartoons more efficiently.
Hilarious.
Gone are the days of
My daughter
having
was
to
learning about the first
physically
computer
draw
ever.
Everything out on paper and underpay a team of hundreds of pretty girls to hand paint every frame. Now we
Okay.
can use this fancy new computer to render everything out for us. All we have to do is create a real-life mold of our real-life human hand, then draw 350 triangles onto that hand,
What?
then manually measure out the X, Y, and Z coordinates of 800 different data points.
What?
No, come on, this is going to be so much faster. Put that pencil down.
Okay.
Now we just program in a couple
Okay.
of keyframes and we get...
Oh,
We still don't have the processing power to render everything out.
okay.
Oh, I know. We'll
What?
just point this long exposure camera at the computer screen.
All right.
Get these art supplies out of here. This is the future.
So
And
cute.
when everything's finished rendering,
Uh-huh.
we'll get this. A whole human hand moving on its own without having to draw a single frame. This process is exactly what Utah University
Okay, I wanted to know.
Ed Catmull did in 1972. And
A
while it
computer
might not have
animated
been more
hand. Okay.
efficient than drawing everything out by hand, it showed that computers were capable of rendering out three-dimensional animations. This
I'm
was
not gonna
made
lie.
After we landed a man on
I
the moon, by the way.
do
So don't
not
tell me this was CGI. As the computer's
understand.
processing power grew exponentially, more and more filmmakers started seeing the benefits of using computer-generated images in movies.
We've seen,
A decade
yeah,
after
it
Catmull
exists now.
digitized his hand, films like Tron showcased characters racing on mind-boggling.
I gotta see the
computer-generated
original
lightsabers.
Tron,
This might
or
look,
maybe not.
you know, bad by today's standards.
I was gonna say maybe
These
not.
graphics were something that audiences had never seen before.
Mhm.
Plus, the movie takes place.
Their minds
inside of a
were
computer,
blown.
So this is probably what people thought the insides of a computer looked like, anyways.
Oh, that's
At the
cute.
time, computers did a great job at creating rigid geometric shapes.
Mhm.
Animators use that to their advantage.
I wonder if he's gonna talk about
Characters would still
Pixar
have to
and.
be animated traditionally on cells, but
Mm-hmm.
objects that weren't going to change shape, like black cauldrons,
Mm-hmm.
can now magically fly in circles around our characters. Disney really showed off the computer's rendering power.
Oh,
during the
so they
climax
were-
of The Great Mouse Detective, when these two rodents fought
When-
each other
when did
inside
this
a
come
clock
out?
tower, and all the spinning gears were generated by a computer. Animators
Oh.
can now make any complex shape move in a three-dimensional space.
I didn't know they were
without
doing
having
any
to
of that
draw a
until like
single
Pixar
frame.
came out.
I mean, you know, except for the characters, they still very
Well,
much had to
Disney
draw.
at least.
Computer graphics were here to stay as Disney integrated more of them into movies like these
Mm.
Cars in Oliver and Company or Eric
Oh.
in The Little Mermaid, and then they stopped using
Oh,
cells entirely.
wait. And that was the
Starting with
90s.
Rescuers Down Under, Disney no longer used
I
cells,
never
and they
saw
made
this
these
movie.
entirely digitally.
Oh my, I am being pulled back into my childhood. Oh my gosh, the nostalgia. I've never seen this movie. We have to react to this movie. Please, please, please. And please show up. Well, first off, I got to see if I can find it. I have never, ever seen this movie, but we as kids had the golden books, the Disney golden books and Disney storybooks, and read this story in the Disney, and mind you, it's a long time ago. I would very, very, very much like to see this movie, and I pray it's good. I pray it's good because the nostalgia burst that I just got from freaking seeing this. Oh my gosh, I gotta see it. Come on, okay? Comment down below if you're like, hey, you were ready to show up. I want you to make a promise you would show up if I react to this movie. All right? If we get 100 comments, we're gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna do this.
With a program called CAPS. So if you
Ugh.
ever wanted to own a cell of Joanna the Lizard eating an egg, that's
Ey.
too bad because they don't exist.
Wow.
Which
Wow.
sucks
Wow.
because Joanna was the best lizard Disney
Wow.
ever made. Don't
Wow.
touch me. TV
Wow.
shows and anime still use cells till about the year 2000-ish, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually everyone switched to digital. Now to color a
Okay.
frame, all you had to do was So computers were
Hilarious.
great at making rigid, non-flexible shapes.
I didn't know
but
that
has
Disney
anyone
was
ever tried
including
A
computer-generated
group of
characters.
computer
Yes.
scientists who were working for a small indie director named George Lucas
Mhm.
were taking this art form to an extreme level.
And this is where
created full
Pixar-
characters completely generated by a computer. Then a small
Look at
entrepreneur
him.
named Steve Jobs hired
Oh.
those computer scientists and made
Oh.
his own company, Pixar. Yes,
Wait, Steve Jobs?
was one of the founders of Pixar, and he
I
originally
thought-
created the company to sell a high-end computer powerful
I
enough
thought
to
George
render
Lucas
3D
was the
animations.
founder.
But no one bought the computer because it cost $135,000. So the
What?
team scrapped the computer selling idea and just started making computer-generated cartoons. But they soon discovered a unique
What?
problem. The computer had a hard time getting textures right, and everything
Looked
including
smooth.
babies,
Yeah.
ended up
Oh,
looking like
it's
it was made
creepy.
out of plastic.
That's
So
creepy.
the team's clever work around this dilemma was to make a movie with the entire cast of characters
Toys.
actually made out of plastic.
Yes.
Or ants. You know, people don't know what ants are supposed to look like.
Hilarious. I
Pixar
remember the Ants
continued to
movie.
develop new
I think.
processes
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
I
the
remember
computer
Ants.
to generate unique textures and lighting, like simulating human hair or
The hair,
fur,
yes.
or lighting things in such a way to make everything appear under
Oh,
no
Finding
other
Nemo.
studio was pioneering
Oh, yeah,
computer-generated images
DreamWorks.
like Pixar was. And then in 2006, Disney bought Pixar. But I don't think
Yes.
Steve was too upset because one year later, he achieved his dream of selling a high-end computer.
Oh, he did?
This time
Yes,
being
he
a little
did.
more affordable.
Yes.
A little. Now,
Oh.
I want to squash any misconception.
Not so much
that
anymore.
computers do all the
'Cause I think
animating.
that phones cost
Animators
$2,000
still
now,
have to
right?
manually pose a character's body and facial expression off of a character's
Wow.
build a
The sound
complex
scared me.
system of nodes and bones that let them manually pose a character into any position possible. It's
Position.
kinda like a digital stop motion puppet. Or an actual puppet without any of the strings.
Okay.
All CG characters are just their own complicated version.
Because they have
of
the rigs,
Pinocchio.
yeah.
Using character rigs is really the only way of animating things.
The
in
keyboard
3D dimensions.
bashing is
But it's
hilarious.
not like we can use rigs in 2D animation. Here in the second dimension, we don't have a fancy Z-axis.
Okay.
2D animation can only be done
Right.
by hand drawing 24 new images every second. Except we don't,
Every
I lied.
second?
Even all the way back when characters were animated with paper and cells,
Mm-hmm.
animators wouldn't draw a whole new frame every frame. Usually they would animate pieces of a character and paint each piece on its own cell. You remember Robin? They only drew one body and 5 different heads. But because cells are a physical object that get harder to handle the more you have, animators could only break a character up into 2 or 3 different pieces.
Okay.
But now, thanks to the computer,
there's
we
a
can
lot I'm
break up
learning
a
here.
character into as many pieces as we'd like. Like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Or 173.
Whoa.
Have you ever played around with the free and revolutionary animation software Pivot Stick Figure Animator? If
No.
you have a person that says,
I never
"Oh,
knew
I
about
suck
that."
at drawing. I can't even draw stick figures."
Okay.
And you're gonna love this
Wow,
program.
that's what
On
you
Pivot,
call
you're given a
not being able to
stick
draw?
figure or horse that have these joints that can be posed however you like. Each of
Okay.
these stick figure's limbs are just individual pieces that are connected in such a way
Does that
make
still
it look
exist?
like a stick figure.
I
So
wanna
in these
practice.
animations, we're not really drawing anything.
What's it
We're
called?
just
Pivot?
manually posing out
Animator?
a character like a digital puppeteer. I wasn't saying you can make a rig out of 100
I'm writing the note.
pieces just to be funny, because that's how many pieces I'm made out of. That's right, me.
Okay.
Even I'm a rig. And can I tell you a secret?
Uh-huh.
Most TV shows use rigs too.
Are rigged.
Of course, hand-drawn traditional animation is still used
Ooh.
to make these shows.
What is that creepy
It's
thing
not
on the
a
bottom
lost art
left?
form or anything.
What
But
the heck was
rigs
that
are
on the bottom
super
left?
useful at making still pretty high-quality levels of animation, but at a much cheaper cost.
So
And as we all
freaking
know,
comfy.
TV animation has to create more animation per
Yes, yes,
but
they do.
maybe rig animation
They do.
still isn't as cost-effective as you'd like. And maybe you're not a fan of the complicated puppet look, and you want something that looks more human. Well,
Okay.
there's one more animation process
yes,
we can try
motion.
called motion.
Capture, yeah. Mocap.
Actor inside one of these dorky ping pong suits, a computer can
Hilarious.
pinpoint and record that actor's exact movements.
Mhm.
Now we can take those movements, slap a cartoon character's model over it,
Right.
and get an animation that looks
What
like
movie was that?
shit. Motion capture
Hilarious.
is
Not
the
that it looks like
rotoscoping of
ish.
3D animation.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not,
I see
but the
that. I
results
see
are
that.
Too human, and we're back at the bottom of the uncanny valley. That's
Oh,
why
the
the kids
Sonic.
from the Polar Express look so nightmarish.
Yeah,
because
they
they're
do kinda
following the
look.
exact movements of Tom Hanks. Yes.
Okay.
Tom Hanks,
I
the
didn't
adult
know.
Man did some motion capture.
I
for the
didn't know
small,
that.
Nameless hero boy from the Polar Express. There's
Okay.
probably a reason we haven't made a fully
Oh,
motion
wow.
capture cartoon in over 10
Are
years.
these all, wait,
because it
Happy
looks
Feet
weird.
was
But, I mean, that didn't
mocap?
stop one of these movies from winning an Oscar in animation. And
Which
before you
one
ask,
did that?
No, it wasn't Monster House or Tintin.
Okay. Okay.
It was Mars Needs Moms. Duh. Just
What?
like rotoscoping,
What?
motion capture
What is
can
m-
be
what
used
is-
correctly.
what
Computer-generated
is,
characters acting side by side with
Mars
real
Needs
human
Moms?
actors look
Never even heard of it.
decent. It's not that jarring that these creatures who
Yeah.
exist in a live
He
action
does look
world
jarring.
are
He was
moving
creepy
just like
AF,
live
bruh.
action people. And let's not forget all the VTubers who use
VTubers.
motion capture technology to
Mhm.
bring their jiggly assets to life.
Oh,
No matter
wow.
what method
Wow.
someone uses
Wow.
to try and convince you that something else is alive,
Mhm.
I think is incredibly cool. And I hope you
Mhm.
think it's cool too. But maybe you don't think it's cool and you don't care about animation.
I do
You
love
just put this
animation.
video on in the background while you were cleaning.
Mm.
That's totally fine. I do that all
Wow.
the time. I
Hilarious.
just like learning about how all of my
Oh, I
favorite
like the
animated pieces
anime
of media
version
get
of
created,
him.
because it's not always the same process. And I think it's great that new technology is
It's
allowing
evolving.
anyone to express themselves in whatever way possible.
It makes it more
A
accessible.
person expressing
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Those are the
Mhm.
3 key words here. From the big
Oh.
studios that are just now
Wait.
themselves. Those are the
AI and the people stealing art and creating AI. I got you.
3 key words here. From the big studios that are just now pioneering new and interesting
Ugh,
styles with
Spider-Verse
digital
is so
animation, to the
freaking
indie studios
good.
that have access to incredible technology, which
Oh, yeah,
allow anyone
amazing
working
digital
from their
circus.
bedrooms in their
Yes.
pajamas to create some
Accessibility.
truly masterpieces of animation.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're the type of person that likes to trick people into thinking that
Wow.
something is alive, then
Okay.
you deserve all the respect in the world.
Aw.
In fact, here are some cool people that made the animation in this video possible.
That's so cool.
Hello, you just made
The
it to
V-
the end of this video.
Hold
I
on,
hope
who
you
made his
enjoyed it. I'm still
VTuber?
trying to figure out this VTuber model, so
Okay.
I'm over-enunciating my words. The
Okay.
technology behind this is beyond my comprehension.
Hilarious. His face is crazy. I you know what? Maybe we could, well, you guys have seen me without the hat. Maybe we can have moments where I'm just like the VTuber version or something. I want to do that. I think Leash has one, I got to see who gave her one and what it, get her thoughts on it and everything and see, can I do that? I really enjoyed this. A, I do like video essays. B, I like the journey that we were taken on, and I learned some things. I always thought that George Lucas created, I know his people, I know his team were the Pixar people, but because they would use a lot of that stuff because they also, I think either after they lost Pixar, I'm not gonna say lost, but after he sold Pixar, his team was something light and sound, I believe, or was it TLX or you know what? Let me know, because the acronym and the words, it was something, but I know it involved light and sound. And mind you, my husband's gonna tell me, because I'm gonna talk to him about this, or he's gonna be like, "Oh, babe, when you were watching this video, he'll answer the question sometimes." But like, when it comes to like I didn't know that Steve Jobs was involved with Pixar, but it's kind of cool to see, like, he had this idea that was that the time wasn't ready for. And then he did this other thing, then came back to this idea. And it takes me back to a mindset of never giving up, like how you can feel like something doesn't work, but you just need to work at it to make it work, instead of just giving up and thinking it's not going to work. I think less of us need to give up, and more of us need to keep punching at it, keep finding a different way to make it. Because yes, maybe this in the specific form it's in may not be affordable or possible, but if you fix it or tune, okay, this doesn't work, but maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that, maybe if I do this, kind of take that scientific approach where they constantly are testing their theories and testing and putting things that they're making to the test, and then making tweaks and stuff as they're going. Like, engineers do that, It's really, really cool to see the journey that a lot of this, the animation has taken. I do feel like there are some hits in there that he was making towards people who look at animation as a kid's genre as a whole when it's not. You know, animation's a medium, not a genre. I love that he said that words. Okay. Yes. And I think he was taking a jab at people who belittle animation, and then there was a jab at people who steal animation. You know, with the whole AI thing that's been going on, especially with like, I think they were saying on Instagram and Facebook that if you post artwork, then you are giving them the right to use your artwork to teach their AI for creating AI artwork, which is crazy. That is crazy. Like, it's like, hey, you're using this to post pictures, but now if you post your artwork, we're just going to take it. That is wild. But yeah, the more I think about that, that's crazy wild. But yeah, this is really cool. There's a lot of things I didn't know, a lot of things and I wrote down that pivot animator thing. I want to try it because I do want to. It would be cool if I make a little cute little animation and put it up, even if it's just a stick figure. I would love that. I'm kind of in this wanting to try other things vibe right now. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Did you know all this stuff? Are there things that you learned? How do you feel? Let me know down below in the comment section. I love you guys as always. And until next time, buddies. Toodles!